Good morning. Your packet for today is found linked to Canvas. It would be wise for you to take good notes as we go through this or print a copy off and write on it. Before we begin working on equations, let's take a minute and review the one-step equations. You had some of these to do on Edulastic, and we have 4 of them in our notes today that we want to take a look at. Our first one is n minus 8 is equal to negative 3. As we do this, we want to be able to show all of our works as we go because our goal on solving any equation is to find what the variable is equal to by undoing the operations around it. On our first one, n is being subtracted by 8. So in order to undo subtracting by 8, we're going to add the 8 in order to eliminate that. And in order to keep our equation equal, if I add 8 to the left, I need to add 8 to the right. Now, the minus 8 and the plus 8 on the left side is going to add up to 0, and that is going to leave our n by itself, and that is what our ultimate goal is. On the right side, we have negative 3 plus 8, and negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5. So we find that n has the value of 5. And we can take a minute and we can check our work, which is something that I want you to be doing with many of your equations, by taking your answer and substituting it into the original problem. Our original problem is n minus 8 equals negative 3. So I'm going to substitute my answer in for n. So I got 5 minus 8. 5 minus 8 is negative 3. And since my answer matches the equal sign of the equation, I find that my answer is correct. So this is just an easy way to check the work so that I never miss my equations. Next, let's go to question 2. Question 2, negative 2m is equal to negative 24. Negative 2 is multiplying to the m, so we need to undo that using division. So we're going to divide the negative 2 off of m. And since I've done that to the left side of the equal sign, I want to also do that to the right side of the equal sign. On the left, negative 2m divided by negative 2 is going to create a 1, so I'm left with just a 1m. And negative 24 divided by negative 2 gives me an answer of 12. So I find that m is equal to 12. And I'm going to take a minute and check my work by substituting 12 in for m. My original equation is negative 2m is equal to negative 24. I'm going to substitute 12 in for m. So I have negative 2 times 12. Negative 2 times 12 is negative 24, and it matches the original problem, so my answer is correct. Moving on to question 3. Question 3, m over 2 equals negative 7. This is not a fraction, it is a division problem, so I need to view it as m divided by 2 is equal to negative 7. And in order to undo a division problem, I'm going to use multiplication. So m divided by 2 is going to be undone by multiplying by 2. And whatever I do to the left, I'm going to do to the right. Now, the 2's on the left are going to factor out of the problem, and I'm left with m is equal to negative 7 times 2, which is negative 14. Now, keep going with my checking of my work. And I start out with my original equation is m over 2 equals negative 7. I'm going to substitute negative 14 in for m. So negative 14 divided by 2. And when I do the work, I find that that is negative 7, and it matches my original equation, so I'm ready to move on because I have my correct answer. Question number 4. 2/3 y equals 20. 2/3 times y is equal to 20. Now, I'm multiplying by a fraction. And in question number 2, when we were multiplying, we used division, but we divided by an integer. When we're dividing by a fraction, we need to remember that we don't divide by fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So to undo 2/3 y, we are actually going to multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. So I'm just going to multiply by the flip of my fraction. And I'm going to do that to both sides of my equation. On the left, 3 times 2 and 2 times 3 gives me 6 over 6. So ultimately, they all cross cancel out of my problem, leaving me with 1y is equal to 20 times 3 halves. Now let's make sure we have 20 over 1 times 3 over 2. I multiply my numerators and I get 60. Multiply my denominators and get 2. And 60 over 2 is equal to 30. Let's take a second and we're going to check this answer just to make sure we're on the right track, because sometimes we can get a little nervous about these fractions. So I originally have 2/3 y, which I'm going to replace with my 30 over 1. And I'm hoping to get the answer of 20. Well, 2 times 30 is 60 over 3 times 1 is 3. And 60 over 3 is, in fact, 20. So that proves that I did my math correctly. Okay, so now that we've taken a second to review over the 1 steps, we are going to move into the 2-step equations. And just like it says, it's going to take 2 steps to solve the equation. And our notes tell us that the first thing that we need to do is undo addition or subtraction. Second thing is to undo multiplication or division. And then third thing, check your answers by using substitution. Now, these are the steps that we would do for majority of our equations. We are going to run into some that require us to actually reverse these steps, but we'll get to that when we get to them. So let's start out by solving 5y plus 12 equals 32. And then we're going to check our work. Now, 5y plus 12 equals 32. And my rules that we're given above, our steps, tell us to get rid of addition and subtraction first. Well, on the left side with the variable, I have a plus 12. In order to get rid of plus 12, we're going to use its inverse, and we're going to minus 12, and do that to both sides of the equation. The plus 12 and the minus 12 are going to zero out of the problem and leave us with the 5y. And we find that 5y is equal to 32 minus 12, which is 20. And after we've gotten rid of that addition, we're back to a 1-step equation. 5y equals 20. Well, 5y is multiplication, so I'm going to use division to get rid of the 5. So I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by 5. 5 over 5 factor to 1, leaving me my y. And I find that 20 over 5 is 4. So by solving this through my steps, I have found that y is equal to 4. But I'm going to come over to the side and we're going to check our problem. And we're going to start with our original, which is 5y plus 12 equals 32. I'm going to substitute the 4 in for y. So 5 times 4 plus 12. Now, following order of operations, 5 times 4 is 20. And 20 plus 12 is 32. And in fact, I do have the correct answer. So checking our work is going to ensure that we do not miss any questions. Let's go and do 4 more together on the bottom of this. And let's work 6m minus 8 equals 16. I'm going to start by splitting my equation so I remember that I have a left and a right. It's easy to forget. And my steps tell me to get rid of subtraction and addition first. I have a minus 8, and in order to get rid of the minus 8, we're going to add 8. And I'm going to do that to both sides of my line. The minus 8 and the plus 8 are going to zero out of the problem, leaving me with 6m equals 16 plus 8, which is 24. Now, I have a multiplication on the left, 6 times m. And in order to undo multiplication, I am going to divide both sides by the value next to m, which is 6. My 6's divide out as a 1, and that leaves me with 1m is equal to 24 over 6, which is 4. And my final answer is m over 4. Now, keeping good habits, let's check our work. My original question says I'm going to substitute the m with 4. So 6 times 4 minus 8 equals 16. 6 times 4 is 24, but I still have to minus the 8, and that in fact gives me 16, which is the correct answer. Let's move to the problem to the right. 6 minus 8x equals 22. Now, if we look at this one, we can see that the variable is in the middle of the equation. That is not a problem, but for some of us, we don't like it that way. So we could use the commutative property to rotate this problem. But we have to watch these minus signs because these minus signs are our negatives. So my 8x is in fact a negative 8x, and my 6 is a positive 6. So I'm actually going to reverse these, and I'm going to bring my negative 8x to the front and my positive 6 to the middle and have it equal 22. Commutative property is completely allowed and it's very beneficial, but just make sure you do it correctly. So now I'm going to go back to my problem, and I have negative 8x plus 6, and I need to undo my work, and starting out with the adding of 6, and to get rid of plus 6, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides of the equation. Plus 6 minus 6, they're going to zero out of the problem and leave me with a negative 8x equals 22 minus 6 is 16. Now I'm going to undo the multiplication and be careful to keep my negatives straight. Negative 8 times x, so I'm going to divide by negative 8. And I have to do that to both sides of the problem. When I do that, negative 8 over negative 8, factor to 1 or divide out to 1, leaving me with the x, and that's equal to 16 divided by negative 8. 16 divided by negative 8 is negative 2. And we're going to check this one because our negatives are actually a bit of a troublemaker sometimes for us. So we're going to check this by plugging it into the original problem. The original problem, 6 minus 8 times, instead of x, I'm going to use negative 2, and we want it to equal 22. Well, now I have to follow order of operations, so I'm going to multiply first. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. 6 minus negative 16 is 22. I have proven my answer to be correct. Let's move to the bottom left problem. N over 3 plus 3, n over negative 3 plus 3 equals negative 2. Actually, let's read it as a division problem. N divided by negative 3 plus 3 equals negative 2. Let's divide our problem into 2 halves, so we remember to do the same on the left and the right. And let's start with that plus 3. In order to get rid of the plus 3, we are going to minus 3 from both sides of our equation. 3 and negative 3, 0 out of my problem, and I'm left with k over negative 3 is equal to negative 2 minus 3, which is negative 5. Since k is being divided by negative 3, I'm going to multiply by negative 3 because my key is to use my inverses. Negative 3 and negative 3 on the left factor out, and I'm left with k is equal to negative 5 times negative 3, which is positive 15. Time for a quick check on this one. All right, so k, I'm going to substitute with my 15 divided by negative 3 plus 3 equals negative 2. Let's follow the order of operations. Negative 5 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. And if I add 3 to that, I get negative 2. So I have proven my answer to be correct. Last problem on this page. 1/3 x plus 3 equals negative 2. All right, time to start with the addition and subtraction. So to get rid of the plus 3, we are going to minus 3 on both sides of this equation. This helps us to zero out the plus 3 and the minus 3 and leaves us with 1/3 x equals negative 2 minus 3, which is negative 5. So I have 1/3 x. This is a lot like that practice problem we did, question 4 above, where we used the reciprocal to get rid of our fraction. So 1/3 x. To get rid of the 1/3, I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal by flipping it upside down. And I'm going to do that to both sides of my equation. The fractions are going to factor out, leaving just my x. And my x is equal to negative 5 times 3, which is negative 15. Well, time to check our work. I'm going to start out with my equation, 1/3. Instead of x, I'm going to put in negative 15 plus 3, and my goal is a negative 2. 1/3 times negative 15 is the same as negative 15 divided by 3, which would give me negative 5. And if I add 3 to that, I get negative 2. That proves my answer to be correct. If you haven't noticed, checking our work is going to be very important to making sure we get our work done. All right, let's go to the second page of our notes, and we're going to do a couple word problem setups. Question 1 on the back, example 1. Melanie saves $20 every month in her savings account. She withdrew $60 one time to go shopping. She now has $280 in her account. Write and solve an equation to determine how many months she has been saving. And this problem is going to walk us through each thought process, starting with defining the variable. That simply means pick a variable to represent what you're looking for. Since we're looking for how many months she's been saving, let's use the variable m to stand for months. Now we're going to write the equation. We see that Melanie saves $20 every month in her savings account. Well, that can be represented by 20m, $20 each month. But she withdrew $60 one time to go shopping, so we need to subtract that $60 because she spent it. Now she has $280. So 20m minus 60 equals her new balance of $280. We have set up our equation, and now it's time to solve it. Split it up and get rid of our subtraction first by adding 60 to both sides of the equation. When I do that, my 60 and negative 60 zero out, and I have 20m equals 340. In order to get rid of the multiplication of 20, I'm going to divide both sides by 20. My 20s divide out, and I find out m is equal to 17. Part 3 says to write an answer in a sentence. Well, I'm asking you, what does the 17 mean? Well, the 17 stands for how many months she's been saving. So my sentence could read something like, Melanie has been saving $20 each month for 17 months. We just want to explain what the variable means. All right, let's move down to example 2. We're going to follow the same steps but with a different problem. A group of 4 people ate dinner at a restaurant. They divided the bill equally, and each person left a $2 tip. They each paid $14. Write and solve an equation to determine the amount of the total bill. Okay, step number 1, define the variable, I'm sorry. Well, our variable is going to represent the bill, so let's just use B. Well, now let's think about B. What happened in the equation? Well, first, they divided the bill equally among them. Well, so we're going to take our B, and we're going to divide it equally among the 4 people that ate the dinner. But after they divided the bill, they each left a $2 tip. So we have to include the $2 tip. And this shows that each person paid $14. So what we have, B over 4, is each person's part of the bill plus each person's tip, and it equals the amount each person paid. So now that we've got our equation, it's time to solve the problem. First thing is to get rid of the plus 2. And we're going to do that by subtracting 2 from each side. Plus 2 and minus 2 zero out. And that leaves me with B over 4 is equal to 12. Now, I'm going to use multiplication to undo the divide by 4. And the 4's factor out. And that leaves me with B equals 48. So my sentence for my answer could be, the total bill was $48. Okay. Now that you've had some guided practice, I want you to do the next page of problems. There's 8 questions that I want you to do on the next page on Canvas with these notes. You have 6 equations to complete using inverse operations, but I also want to see you check your answer through substitution. And then there's 2 word problems where you need to write the equation and solve it. Use the guided practice that we've done. I will upload the answers to all of these here in about a day or 2 so that you can check your work. You will also have a homework page that needs to get done. This is also included on Canvas. My distance learners and quarantine students, you need to have this uploaded to me with your work showing, preferably by Sunday night so that I can see your work. I won't post these answers until later. And also you need to do your exit tickets. The exit ticket is going to be a grade, so do not speed through it. I want to see good work on those. And if you have any questions, you know when my online hours are, and you know how to inbox me, and I'm here to help you as much as I possibly can. So good luck practicing the equations, and I'll be seeing from you soon.